When we look at a spreadsheet or like a predictive algorithm, we generally expect to see reality reflected back at us in these neat little rows and columns,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I mean, it offers a sense of control.
Yeah, exactly. You punch in the historical data, the machine hums, and, well, out pops a clean, undeniable probability.
Because numbers don't have off days, They don't
Yeah.
get stage fright.
Right, they don't let their emotions cloud their judgment. It tells you exactly what is supposedly going to happen.
They just measure the weight of the past to project the shape of the future.
But then, you take that cold, hard data and you drop it into the middle of a screaming, high stakes, just deeply unpredictable arena of human emotion.
And suddenly that airtight math starts to look, well, remarkably fragile.
Completely fragile. So, welcome to the deep dive for you listening right now. It is May 1st, 2026, and we are just days away from the Eurovision Song Contest in Vienna.
It's so close now.
It really is. And we have a fascinating mix of material to sift through today. We're pulling from biographical records, historical contest statistics, some incredibly brutal predictive betting odds, and real fan reactions on YouTube.
Right. And our mission here, the whole goal of this deep dive, is to really unpack this massive disconnect we're seeing.
Yeah, the gap between the story and the math.
Exactly. The disconnect between a deeply emotional, decades-in-the-making underdog story and the ice-cold, pessimistic math of the betting markets.
We're going to figure out if mathematical probability can actually account for human passion.
Which is a tall order.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even analyze her chances in the upcoming contest, we have to understand the artist herself.
Because her journey to the Eurovision stage is just, I mean, it's a masterclass in resilience.
It really is. So we're talking about the artist going by the name Jiva. But to understand the momentum here, we have to look at Jamila Hashimova.
Right, Jiva's real name. She was born in Moscow back in 1982.
Which means she is stepping onto this massive stage at 43 years old.
Yeah, which is practically unheard of in this specific arena.
Exactly. And a pop industry obsessed with youth, like constantly looking for the next 18-year-old viral TikTok star, that detail alone makes you pause. She's not an overnight thing.
Not at all. She has been grinding in the music industry since 2003.
Oh, wow. 2003.
Yeah, that's when she placed second in the Baku Autumn competition. And her musical pedigree since then is serious.
We're not just talking about singing in the shower here.
No. She's performed at the prestigious Montreux Jazz Festival. She worked with the Rast Ensemble, and she fronted the Has Band.
The Has Band, right? They blended complex jazz with modern pop.
Exactly. It's a highly technical, rigorous musical foundation.
So if you're trying to picture her career, I like to compare Jiva to like a legendary session musician.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, or like a marathon runner who has just been working in the shadows for 20 years, putting in the miles, and is finally getting her gold medal moment.
Because her real breakthrough didn't even come until 2025.
Right, at age 42, she enters the Voice of Azerbaijan.
And why it matters, the reason we have to look at this, is how she won it. She won with 42.6% of the televote.
Wait, 42%. In a finale with multiple finalists.
Yes. Capturing almost half the audience is a statistical anomaly. And she secured a 4-chair turn right out of the gate with Whitney Houston's I Have Nothing.
Oh, man. You do not touch Whitney unless you have absolute bulletproof control over your voice.
Exactly. It proves she possesses this rare ability to connect instantly with a televoting audience.
Which is literally the most essential skill for Eurovision.
It is the whole game. A blind audition format strips away visual bias. It's just raw communicative power.
But the craziest part of this timeline, and this blew my mind when I read the source, she actually reached the top 3 of Azerbaijan's Eurovision national selection back in 2011.
Yeah, she was right there.
She was right at the threshold, and she didn't get it. She waited 15 years for this second chance.
Which means when she steps on stage in Vienna, she's bringing a decade and a half of deferred dreams with her.
Okay, so we know she has the vocal chops. The backstory is incredible. But, a great singer with a bad song still loses.
True. The vehicle matters.
So let's look at the weapon she is bringing to Vienna and the heavy historical baggage she's carrying for her country. The song is called Just Go.
Right, Just Go. It's a pop, dance, and R&B track written by Fuad Javidov.
And it's sung in both English and Azerbaijani, right?
Yes. And lyrically, it operates as this fiery breakup and empowerment anthem.
Yeah, the lyrics are intense. Like, I see through your disguise and my dreams have turned to ashes.
But then it pivots into this massive cathartic release, "Without You I'll Shine."
It's built to show off her powerhouse vocals.
Oh.
But, so what does this all mean? I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Is a classic breakup empowerment anthem really enough to reverse Azerbaijan's terrible recent track record?
Well, let's look at that track record,
Yeah.
because it is a roller coaster.
Yeah, they debuted in 2008, won the whole thing in 2011 with Running Scared, and they have 5 top 5 finishes.
They were a powerhouse.
Yes.
But then they hit absolute rock bottom in 2025.
Right, the act Mama Gama.
They finished dead last in semifinal 1.
Dead last. Ouch.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that failure creates a massive psychological burden on Jiva.
Because she was internally selected.
Right.
ITV, the national broadcaster, didn't let the public vote this time.
Exactly. They panicked. They brought in 18 auditioning acts and ran them through a jury and a focus group cull.
They practically corporate stress tested the music to find a safe bet. So she isn't just singing a pop song.
No, she is tasked with single-handedly pulling her nation out of the Eurovision basement.
Which brings us to the brutal math. And if you are listening and rooting for Jiva right now, which, I mean, how can you not be?
It's an inspiring story.
It is. But despite the inspiring biography, the predictive data from the bookmakers paints a terrifyingly bleak picture. Let's look at the numbers.
The structural variables here are rough. Jiva is scheduled to perform in semifinal 2, and she has drawn running order slot number 2.
Oh man, the death slot. Statistically, they are treating her like a rowboat entering a Formula One speedboat race.
That's entirely accurate.
The betting odds are just devastating. The bookmakers give her an 84% chance of elimination.
84%, making her the -- most likely act to not qualify from her semifinal.
Her odds of qualifying are just 11%. She's ranked 15th out of 15. Why are the odds this low? Is there a flaw in the song, or are the bookmakers just punishing Azerbaijan for last year?
Well, this raises an important question about how the models work. Bookmakers don't care about emotional backstories.
You really don't.
They look at structural disadvantages. Performing second is universally known as the death slot because of the priming effect and cognitive load.
Right, the audience hasn't settled in yet. They're chatting, adjusting the volume.
And by the end of the show, recency bias kicks in, and they've completely forgotten the second act.
So the algorithm prices that blind spot in, and on top of that, her overall chances of winning the contest or the jury vote or the televote
Are calculated at less than 1%.
less than 1%. She's ranked 35th overall, far behind favorites like Finland, Greece, and Denmark.
The algorithm is essentially saying her campaign is over before she even gets on the plane. It factors in what we call the country tax.
The country tax, like the baggage from Mama Gama coming in last.
Exactly. The models assume a disconnect with modern voting trends based on last year, and they compound that with the death slot.
So it's guaranteed failure, mathematically speaking.
According to the data, yes.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting, if the models predict guaranteed failure, we have to look at what happens when actual human beings listen to the track.
Because algorithms don't listen to music.
Right. Does the algorithm capture the soul of the music? And when you look at the YouTube comments on the official video, they reveal a deep emotional resonance that the betting odds miss completely.
Completely miss. Art is subjective.
Yeah, there's this quote from a fan from Lithuania in the UK. They said they usually dislike Azerbaijan's entries, but they called this song very nice, beautiful, sensitive, strong.
And they gave it that hilariously specific label, right?
Yes, they dubbed it a good song for love scammers.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
That shows active synthesis. They're taking lyrics about deception and empowerment and applying them to a very modern, idiosyncratic human experience.
No spreadsheet has a column for relatability to love scammers.
Absolutely not. And there was another comment, right?
A comment written in Russian that simply translates to the best song. No analysis, just pure connection.
Which is the exact blind spot of the math. Betting odds measure the probability of mass consensus.
But art is individual. I mean, think about it. For you listening right now, think about a time you loved a movie or an album or a sports team that all the critics and statistics said was guaranteed to fail.
It doesn't change your internal reality.
Not at all. The connection overrides the data. For those specific fans in the YouTube comments, Jiva has already won, regardless of what the scoreboard says on May 14th.
The transaction of art has already occurred.
Exactly. So to kind of bring this all together, we have this incredible tension between Jiva's triumphant, decades-long journey to the Eurovision stage, and these seemingly insurmountable mathematical odds predicting her downfall.
The 84% elimination probability versus a 20-year hustle.
Right. And her just getting there at 43 years old after 15 years of waiting is a victory in itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
It reminds us to look past the projected outcomes of a situation.
Yeah, to find the human resilience underneath all that data. Because if we only looked at spreadsheets, she should have just stayed home.
She's showing up anyway.
She's showing up anyway. Which leaves me with this final lingering question, and it's something I want you to ponder long after this audio stops.
It's a big one.
It is. As predictive betting markets and algorithms become increasingly dominant in forecasting the outcomes of our culture, do we risk losing the magic of the performance?
Will we eventually just watch competitions to see if the math was right?
Yeah. Or, and this is the scary part, will artists start reverse engineering their music just to satisfy the algorithm?
Engineering the human out of it entirely.
Exactly. But maybe, just maybe, there will always be room for a human being like Jiva to step on stage and completely shatter the algorithm. Something to think about.
Thanks for joining us in this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.